Welcome to the Weird Warriors podcast. I'm Max.
I'm Rich.
And on this podcast, we will be covering the Weird War Tales comic book series published by DC Comics from 1971 to 1983. On this episode in particular, we're taking a look at Weird War Tales issue number 63. But first, Rich has a little something to say to you.
The Intel Report. Eden Frost, a 4-issue miniseries by Mad Cave Comics in 2023. Script by Amit Tischler, art by Bruno Frenda. Amidst the snow-capped hills of war-torn Ukraine, that sounds familiar, teenage siblings Alex and Yuli have lost all but each other in the chaos of the Russian Civil War. Their journey becomes a fight for survival in the face of warfare. But when the siblings uncover the mystical powers of a golem, will they finally find their place in the world? Cover detail. Art by Joe Kubert. 35 cents. Weird War Tales is yellow on white. 2 Americans stagger out of a smoking Sherman tank. Behind them is a futuristic city. Studying them on 3 sides from above in front of purple walls are 6 alien creatures. They have bare blue skulls with a centered horn and wear red bodysuits, blue boots and gun belts, and a thick gold collar. A green explosion word balloon in the lower right exclaims, Battleground. Cover date, May 1978. Date of release, February 7th, 1978. Old comics, man. Seen on eBay for anywhere between $8 and $80. No Killjoy? Give me your CNC, Max.
All right, will do. It's all here, folks. Excellent figure work, an actual sense of place, great depth of field that draws the eye the way it should, and plenty of purely visual storytelling to get you thinking about what's inside the book. Uncle Joe gets the book off to a great start, and I gotta add, also continues the streak of, they have skulls for heads, but they have full fleshed out hands. I don't like it. My name is Rich.
Okay, for the record, I did not say that. I was not going to say that. These are aliens. Different rules apply. So, yeah, I was about to say something that Martin Gray wouldn't like. So anyway, Kubert greatness on display as usual. The aliens strike me as being non-violent and are curious about the specimen in front of them. My eyes went to the long barrel on the tank, which would identify it as an upgunned 76mm Firefly, which could jam with the heavier German tanks like Panthers and Tigers. Did they bring the tank and crew to wherever this is? Why? Let's find out together. But first, Max's favorite, our introduction page. Art by Abe Ocampo. A scythe-waving death stands on top of a small futuristic tank rumbling across the surface of a moonscape. There's a base on the surface behind him, and several fighters are engaged in a dogfight in the dark, star and planet-filled space above. Death says,
Welcome to infinity, the eternal background of the Weird War. In this timeless void, men and machines battle endlessly, fighting the war that never ends. This is my kingdom, and I am Death, the ultimate foe. No one has ever defeated me, and no man ever will. But if you would learn of their struggles, read on, and be careful that you do not become the next casualty in the Weird War.
No Killjoy, CNC. Our first time seeing Abe Ocampo on the intro page. Style looks more like Chaikin's here. It looks pretty good. I like the red fighter in the upper left corner. The space portrayal makes this a very dark page, and a lot of detail gets lost in the sauce. I know I said it looked pretty good, but it's not really my style either.
All right, so our skeletal host just seems to be having a blast on this page, first of all. I mean, it does kind of look like he's riding on that rover like it's a skateboard or something. I don't think that was the intent, but I can't unsee it, and it makes the page even more fun than it would have been otherwise. Yes, the printing does almost literally muddy the affair, but the page is still really well drawn, and the overall fun and coolness of it all manages to shine through. Let's see if we can keep it rolling, folks.
Leading off, Battleground, 9 pages. Script by Roger Mackenzie, art by Ruben Yandok. Mandini, Bowens, and the Sarge are the crew of a tank lost in a rainstorm. Bowens is the new guy, and the Sarge is berating him for not being able to figure out their position when the tank suddenly lurches to a halt. Popping open the turret hatch to see what happened, the words vanish in the NCO's throat. Where had been heavy rain and a shattered European town only seconds before is now an endless flat white surface. Scattered shell craters and a twisting trench are the only features. The crew dismounts and looks around. Sarge, where are we? What is this place anyhow? I wish I knew, Bowens. I ain't never seen anything like this. Mandini falls apart and drops to his knees, sobbing. In the midst of the Americans' confusion, a 3-man Nazi mortar squad opens fire on them. Still bewildered, the tankers don't move as the shell arcs towards them. It takes the unexpected appearance of a yelling infantryman to jolt them into action. Incoming mortar! Run, you flatfoots, run! The Sarge jumps into the trench as the new soldier throws Bowen in after him. Get in the trench and cover up! But Mandini is still in the open, clutching his cross pendant and praying as the shell screams in. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. The Sarge clambers out of the trench, grabs the terrified tanker, and hurls him to shelter. Snap out of it, Mandini, before you get both of us killed! They are the Sarge's last words. An instant later, the shell strikes the tank behind him and explodes, destroying it. The blast also kills the Sarge, sending his helmet bouncing into the trench. Bowens turns his fury onto the quaking Mandini. You rotten! You killed him, scum! Because he had to go and save your worthless hide. I oughta... The soldier rams the stock of his Thompson in Bowen's stomach. Ease up. We got us a war to fight here, not each other. You'll understand when you've been here long as me, if you live that long. We work together. Bowens nods. What about Mandini? Mandini is clutching his cross again, tears streaming down his face as he prays. Free us, my father, from this hell. The GI peers over the lip of the trench. He'll keep, but those Nazis won't. They probably think that mortar shell got us all, which could work to our advantage. We'll have to try to outflank them, catch them by surprise. You work your way along the trench as far as you can. Good luck. Before Bowens can react, the GI climbs out of the trench and sprints off across the barren surface. He follows the GI's instructions, taking his M1 and slowly scouting the trench. Rounding a corner, he discovers a Nazi coming his way with an MP40. Both are startled to see the other. Through his terror, Bowens reacts first, firing twice and killing the German. That same terror then overwhelms Bowens. He scrambles out of the trench to flee, but another mortar shell drops nearby. The blast throws him into a shell crater. He's unharmed, but the explosion breaks his glasses and renders him temporarily deaf. Meanwhile, Mandini is still sobbing and praying. A sign, Father, that you've heard my prayers. Just some sign. Looking towards the sky, his fear is suddenly replaced with joy, and he climbs out of the trench in celebration. The faces! I've seen them! All the faces! I know! Watching from his crater, Bowens is helpless as Mandini is mown down. But then he sees 2 Germans charging towards him, firing, and quickly returns that fire, killing them both. Half blind without his glasses and still deaf, he sees a 3rd man approaching and fires again. The GI collapses on the lips of Bowens' position and dies. Bowens is aghast. You! But I thought you were an enemy. Couldn't see or hear. I didn't even know your name. A battery of powerful lights suddenly illuminates the battleground, and renewed fear wells up from Bowens. What was this place? A gold-colored robot narrates the scene for a bunch of people in futuristic dress on a transparent overhead walkway as Bowens places his head in his hands and cries, Ladies and gentlemen, you have just witnessed an example of 20th century warfare. brought you exclusively by Lost Worlds Incorporated. If you will follow me to the next cubicle, we have some beautiful examples of Cro-Magnon Man. And remember, our exhibits are guaranteed authentic. No expense has been spared to bring you the very best in entertainment from the past. Killjoy. I have no idea what kind of tank that is. Maybe they stole the Franken tank from GI Combat that Jeb Stewart and company crafted from random parts after their Stewart got blasted. Also, I've heard from sources that mortar rounds don't make a screaming sound as they fall towards you. If you're close, your only warning is a coughing sound the shell makes as it leaves the tube. Not that I've been mortared and I'd like to keep it that way, but it's needed here for dramatic effect. Okay, and I won't Killjoy the Nazi armband in the field thing. I usually do because you don't know where the aliens got the Nazis from. It's on the correct arm, at least.
All right, yeah, and you can't overpower that trope of the mortars coming screaming in. It's in every freaking war movie, you know. So they just had to throw it into the comics, I would imagine. So comments and commendations on this opening story. I will say the cold open prologue works really well with great drawings, solid storytelling, accented by some really fun and well-lettered sound effects. You know, that's a thing with me. It's a comic book. Get them sound effects in there, put some effort in, and they do it. And it ends with what will become a very solid theme throughout this story, a great final panel page turn tease. And that page turn not only leads to a truly impactful payoff, but we get a cool and cartoony helmeted host complete with cigarette holder. I like that touch. I don't know why, but it's cute. Also, a cute little tank rolling alongside the pretty decent title logo. The payoff splash below on page 2, you know, below all that is empty, yes. But like I said, it carries the intended impact of the reveal perfectly, and it contrasts really well with the claustrophobic and chaotic nature of the cold open. So that's how you use an empty panel. Like that, you use it for contrast and shock value, you know, right? Boom. So off to an excellent running start. Page 3 shows off, again, another thing that's common in this story. Characterization happening right alongside the action. And it leads to, you guessed it, a page turn tease in the final panel. And when we turn to page 4, boom! The flying helmet in panel 2 is pretty great, and a trope that we've pointed out in the series before, like the helmets flying off, or, you know, a nice trope in comics for death scene that you don't want to show on panel. So it was good to see that make a comeback here. And I liked seeing Bowens' overcompensating anger at Mandini while they're under this new pressure in the trenches. The peeking out of the trenches scene in panel 4 of page 5 carries the tension of the situation really well. And again, we get treated to characterization that moves along with the action, leading up to another final page turn teaser panel. Panel 5 on page 8 provides the first part of the full reveal of that teaser on the final page. And I think it all works well, even if the box that the exhibit inhabits seems to have a bit of a low ceiling. You see that walkway with the robot and the crowd behind him, and it looks like they're not really that far above where all this war stuff has been happening. So I imagine, like, is it just lucky the mortars missed the bridge? But yeah, nitpicking at that point. It's still a decent reveal, but that did stand out to me. Then you get the final page, which is just fantastic all by itself. So this is still a great opening story, little nitpicks at the very end aside. And I went away thinking about how we, the hosts of the show and you listeners out there, use stories of fatal conflicts that real people died in for entertainment out here in the so-called real world. Like, it did make me think a little bit about that. These guys are using real live soldiers as entertainment. So it's different than going to see Platoon in the theater. But I do remember going to see that with my stepfather who served in Vietnam and asking him at the end when we were driving home, was that weird for you? And he's like, yeah, a little bit. A little bit. To see a movie made out of something that I went to was kind of odd. He's a good movie though, but I don't think I'd do it again. You know? So anyway, that's my CNC for this one.
Yeah, if you'll check the album, you'll see a photo of the page of original art from this story that I bought at Terrificon last year, page 7. Maybe I'll have to start hunting eBay for more pages. I've seen them. Like what you just said, this story reminds me of the arguments against all the Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, World War II video games out there. Nothing like taking the worst days of a combat vet's life and making a damn game out of it for your entertainment. Of course, that's just a game. Sidebar, you mentioned, seeing Platoon. Yeah, I'm old enough too. I date myself a lot by saying, oh yeah, I saw Platoon in the movie theaters. I saw Full Metal Jacket in the movie theaters. And people in my unit are like, damn, how old are you? Anyway, page 2, the splash page, and our deathly narrator gets us started nicely. It reminds us of a post-nuclear landscape with the sunset in the background. Page 4, panels 1 through 3 of Sarge's death and Tank's destruction is well done too. The violence of the scene and the way the tanker's helmet, goggles shattered, bounces into the trench. Panel 5, page 4. Kilroy was here! I saved callouts from the other pages to group them on the original art page. Page 1, Mandini is done. Okay, section 8, if he'd lived. He's obviously seen the spectators on the observation platform through the dark. The faces, I've seen them. Last panel, Bowen's firing his rifle at the Germans. Could be a killjoy. I know you're half blind without your glasses, but you're not looking down the sights of your weapon either. The butt of your rifle should be against your shoulder, not under your arm. And the last full-page panel of the museum goers shuffling off to the next display as Bowens mourns the man he killed in error. The 3 futuristic spaceships zipping overhead by the sign that says Lost Worlds Inc. shows daily, sells it. So every day these guys abduct a couple troops from each side of a 20th century war and have them duke it out for the pleasure of the paying public? Where's the circus?
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder about, like, are all these people reported missing in action? The ramifications just keep spilling out. All those questions aside, which will leave you to mull over. And again, a story that makes you think that much, and Rich and I thinking about the same thing at the end there, has got to be deemed a success. So let's see how the second story in this issue measures up to that bar. It's called To the Last Man. It's 7 pages long. Script is by stalwart Jack Olek. Art by not so stalwart, but we'll get into that, Leo Duranona. Synopsis starts like this. Amid the weed-grown ruins where once slim towers of stone and crystal climbed like jewels into a cloudless sky, the Andronites break off their combat with the Lotarians and flee. Energy crackles from the hands of the Lotarian wizard Tyros and smites several of the fleeing foe. The great warrior Kronak calls for mercy. No, Tyros! Let us make an end to this senseless killing. Hold back your magic. But Tyros continues to unleash blasts at the enemy. Kronak, of all his clan, no longer nurses hatred in his heart, and he speaks to the wizard after the battle is over. No more! Wizard or no, even you must see what end must come of all this blood. Tyros, let them live, so that more of us may die. The mighty Kronak speaks in riddles. Has madness taken your reason then? Speak, man! Why should we let them live? So that we all may live. For 1,000 years our clan has fought and died. And for what? For a war whose cause no man alive can even remember? Stop it! Stop it now! With final victory almost in our grasp? You have gone mad. What ails our finest warrior that he pleads for the lives of our enemies? Not fear, I know. Another warrior speaks behind Tyros. And why not fear? A man is only a man, and even a warrior can fear death. Speak, Kronak. Tell us your fear. White hot burns the rage of Kronak, for in his eyes this man who grins and calls him a coward is blind. He seizes the warrior by the throat and lifts him off the ground by one hand. Fool! There is no glory in death. Death brings only blackness and the scavengers who follow where we fight and feed upon our bones. Releasing the fool, Kronak turns to his tribe. In all the world, only we and a handful of Andronites remain alive. When all of us have perished, to whom shall we leave that world? I, Kronak, beg you, Tyros, you are our wizard and our chief. Make peace while there is yet time.
And I, Tyros, answer your plea. Never! The war goes on until either we or the Andronites are no more. That is the law, and no man is above that law. So tomorrow, when we pursue the Andronites, you will fight beside us, or you will die alone and outcast. The choice is yours. Invincible in battle is Kronak, a slayer of enemies whose sword arm never wearies, a hero to his people. Chill is the night and dark, yet colder and darker are the thoughts that fill his tortured brain. Mankind must not die out as flowers die when winter's frost transforms them into dust. There must be a way to end this madness. But how? Iron hard is Kronak, but steel hard is the law. Insert heavy metal guitar solo right there. And so he returns to the others with the dawn. Tyros is pleased. So, the warrior who speaks of peace returns to the war. Our ranks grow thinner every day, and every blade is needed, so you are welcome, Kronak, but only if you speak no more of peace.
The Lotarians follow the path the Andronites left the day before, marked by feasting carrion eaters. Great storm clouds gather as the clan moves on, like harbingers of doom, until the moment is at hand. The Lotarians fall upon the Andronite camp, who are quick to defend it. A swirling melee erupts, and rings again the song of steel on steel. Man-o-war guitar solo. The keen war cry of warriors and warrior maids. At the heart of the whirlwind is Kronak. Lightning is his singing blade, yet back and forth the tide of the battle flows, until the Andronite wizard is slain. But Tyros likewise falls before he can use his magic to end the combat. No quarter is given and none is asked. Until the clamor dims and fades, 2 blades alone remain at last upon that field of death. Of all mankind, these 2 alone still live, Kronak and a warrior maid, still crazed and lusting for the kill. Enough! Our clans are gone, woman! Turn aside your sword! Enough have died! There is no need for us to die as well, and none for us to live. Turn aside my sword. Ere long my blade shall find your heart, dog of a Lotarian. The female swings her axe. Kronak easily parries the blow and knocks the weapon from her hand. A single blow and peace will reign on earth. But what is peace if it be the peace only of the grave? You've won! Strike then, Lotarian. Strike and make it quick, that I may join my clan. Sick at heart is Kronak. Sick with the knowledge of what man was and never again will be. And wide the eyes of the warrior maid as Kronak drops his sword and turns to walk away. 100 paces he walks, and 2. In his heart, he weeps for all mankind. He turns as he hears the warrior maid running up behind him with a knife in hand. So, this is how it ends. You come to kill again. Kill then. I'm waiting. For I will fight no more. If this is how mankind must end, so be it. Kill. You would let me kill you? I do not understand. But suddenly, I no more have the urge to kill, Lotarian, for I see no hatred in your eyes. Then comes the miracle, for as the warrior maid speaks, she reaches out a hand, and the dirge in Kronak's heart turns into a song of joy. Warrior and warrior maid walk in silence, hand in hand. The song in Kronak's heart becomes a hymn of hope. Perhaps this was how it was meant to be. If we are to be together, you should know my name. It is Kronak. In your language, that would be Adam. They call me Erethia. In your language, that would be Eve. This is how it was meant to be. For the fate of mankind has many beginnings, but never an end. And mankind's span has come full circle, only to begin anew. The end.
Another post-apocalyptic Adam and Eve origin story. Meh. I have some well-documented issues of Leo Duranona's art, and they re-emerge here with a vengeance. The inks are just too heavy. Look at page 2, panel 4 of Tyros. Half his face is blacked out. I assume it's some kind of makeup, since he looks like that in most of the panels he appears. Kronos in the preceding panel is also too dark with shadows. And what's going on page 2, panel 4 as the Lotarian army moves out to confront the Andronites? The mountain range looks like it's made of entirely old TV static lines. The bushes on the last panel of the story look like a kid was playing with black and green crayons. Now, I will say I totally dig Leo's backgrounds in several panels. The splash panel on page 1 looks like it's taking place inside of a ruined cathedral. Bonus points for our Deathlane narrator wearing an upside-down vase as a helmet. Page 3, panel 5, where Kronak crouches next to a river with collapsed bridges resting in the water behind him is some real good stuff too. The chaos of the battle scene on page 5, panel 1 is also well done. I like how verbose Oleg gets in describing this tale. I love the toady on the last panel of page 2 going, "Yeah, you big baby!" behind the wizard. Then Kronak lifts him off the ground. The following panel, all, "The wizard I respect, you I'll take apart." Not bad all in all, but as I already said, I tire quickly of retellings of the Adam and Eve story and Duranona. 2 strikes, don't need a third, pass.
All right, so maybe I'm grading him on a curve here. Maybe I have an ounce of sympathy in my heart somewhere, but I thought that old Leo acquitted himself pretty well in these pages for Leo. So yeah, I'm probably grading him on a curve. As you mentioned though, the opening splash is pretty great, with a nicely layered and readable scene playing out before us all, capped off by what I found to be yet another charmingly goofy skeletal host, and again, as you mentioned, quote-unquote helmeted by what appears to be an upturned goblet of some kind, tied crudely to his dome. And yeah, I found the sudden inclusion of literal wizard magic a bit jarring on page 2. I mean, this guy, Tyros, is straight up like just casting the Burning Hands spell from Dungeons & Dragons there. Out of nowhere. Still, I felt the eternal debate of the self-perpetuating eye for an eye builds a kingdom of the blind nature of war is nicely, if bluntly, laid out here. Leo's work in panel 5 of page 3 is really good and drops in some subtle world building as well, with the modern bridges and architecture lying in the ruin in the background. So hey, well, there's a lot of effort there, even legit, not just on the Leo curve, I think. This harkens back to the text in panel 2 of page 1 that mentioned slim towers of stone and crystal that have since fallen. So we're dealing with like a cycle beyond ours even. So our world has fallen. All this whole civilization has risen and is about to fall. So yeah, I kind of like that layering of the apocalypses, but apocalypses are kind of a favorite storytelling trope of mine, so I'm a sucker for it. So Duranona then gives us 2 more really well-designed and rendered combat splash panels on pages 5 and 6. I mean, those are good, clear action scenes from Leo. And you know, not lazy. There's a lot of different acting. There's a lot going on, even when it's just Kronak and the maid facing off. It's well done. Before the disappointingly stupid end of the story arrives to cast its brain cell killing miasma over everything that's come before. Another goddamn, see, these are Adam and Eve story. As Rich mentioned there, ugh. F you, Jack-O-Lick. And you did have so much goodwill building up, as Rich mentioned, and you could hear when I was reading the synopsis. He had so much of like an overdone but really cool heavy metal style to his purple prose in this one. He had me going. I was on board for all of this until the stupid ending shows up. So you got all that going for you. Leo Duranona even shows up for work. And this is the ending to the script you gave him. For shame, sir. So That's it. Those are the two stories in the issue, folks. And we don't even really have a letters page this time. The APO Weird War Tales page is given over to an editorial that we don't want to read the whole thing to people. It basically talks about how, yeah, the inventory stories have runneth dry. They don't have any more Olex scripts or Kashdan scripts in the can. If they do, there's like one or two left. And they have actual new stories coming up that haven't just been sitting around gathering dust in an inventory file. So the editorial directly addresses some of what we've heard in the letters of just the previous issue even. About, oh, another story that you had sitting around from Oleg and Kashdan or whoever. When are we going to see some new talent? Bum, bum, bum. This whole editorial is about that. It's about how they hear you. They're out of inventory stories anyway. Get ready for a new and fresh round of blood in Weird War Tales. So we'll see. We'll see if that promise ends up being as exciting as the editorial wants you to think it is. So there you go. So in the meantime, we're going to move on from that editorial page and switch over to our spotlighted ads for the issue.
Gonna steal Max's fallback ad. Hostess Twinkies snack cakes. And for much the same reason, I have to killjoy the snot out of it. It's the standard 5-panel comic book type ad we all know and love, this time starring Wonder Woman in Dilemma. Wonder Woman is racing a speeding train to get a little exercise and is shocked to see 4 children picking flowers under a cliff close to the tracks. A rock slide is thundering down the cliff towards the children and will doubtlessly block the tracks at the same time. Great Aphrodite, how do I save the train and the children too? How indeed. By the most amazing coincidence, Wonder Woman is carrying a backpack of Hostess Twinkies. Hooray! And thanks to the slowest rock slide ever recorded, she has time to lure the kids away from the falling rocks, give them Twinkies, and stop the train before it hits the rocks that are now blocking the tracks. Golly, do I like Twinkies snack cakes. I love the luscious cream filling. I like the moist sponge cakes. And then, to add to the subliminal message of not picking flowers under a cliff next to railroad tracks, you get the additional nugget of the little girl with 2 pigtails berating her friends to not talk with their mouths full. Manners! In the end, the train is stopped, and Wonder Woman and the 4 kids are all enjoying a Twinkie. Thanks for saving us, Wonder Woman, and for the great tasting Twinkie snack cakes. And we get the usual tagline, you get a big delight in every bite of Hostess Twinkie snack cakes. I know Wonder Woman is an Amazon warrior with a killer gym ethic, but all those Twinkies for a post-workout reward? Wow, I never would have seen that coming. All those calories you just burned off are going back in. Shame. Next time, eat an apple. Or an apple fruit pie.
Oh yeah, and kudos, man. Like I don't own the Hostess ads. If you want to do one and have as much fun as you just had doing that one, go ahead, man. Because this issue didn't exactly lack in the comic book panel style ads, nor did it lack in the sheer darkness of them. And I'm about to up that level of darkness with the first ad you see in this book. It's like inside cover treats you to another full page ad from AAU Shoes and the AAU Superstar versus the Sinister Soul in a race for life. All right, folks, I said it was going to get dark. So first panel has a woman seeing to her bedridden son who is unconscious, laying there sick. And the caption says, without the miracle medicine, Tommy will die. But, and in pops this guy dressed like kind of Dead Man from DC Comics, even with a white face, but he's got horns on top of the white face. So it looks like the devil popping into the window. And he says, what is the life of a mere boy to the Sinister Soul?
The potion is mine. I'll use it to bring the world to its knees. Not even AAU Superstar can catch me now. And boom! Like he was just waiting for his cue. The AAU Superstar with his 70s lapel collared union suit outfit bursts into the room and he says, "Never fear, ma'am. I'll win the race against time and the sinister soul. No one can outrun the AAU Superstar." Well, he beat you into the room, didn't he? All right, so next panel, the foot race is on. And Sinister Soul is just barely ahead, yelling curses. And the Superstar, "Hold your tongue, Sinister Soul," and grabs the Sinister Soul by the long trailing cape. No, see, okay, people, it's fine. You can bring in the Incredibles woman going, "No capes!" Even though I hate that and I'm sick of it, but it applies here. He gets yoinked off his feet by his cape by the Superstar, and to which he says, "Oof." And then Superstar says, "In my AAU shoes, I've shown you, Sinister Soul, that your evil power is no match for my supernatural strength." Another panel, and so you got Superstar literally neck stomping Sinister Soul onto the ground. Just gleefully just grinding him into the dirt there, saying, "If the shoe fits, Sinister Soul, wear it." And Soul somehow can still talk, so I guess he can't do the "I can't breathe" meme here, but he says, "Groan, I'm a total failure, a lost soul." And the last panel, Superstar's back in the room with Mom and Tommy, and Tommy is saying, "Thanks to you, Superstar, and your AAU shoes, I'll be on my feet in no time." Wear AAU shoes and be a superstar. Imported by Intermark Shoe Company. Available at fine department shoe and specialty stores everywhere. A division of International Seaway Trading Corporation, Cleveland, Ohio. 44113. Boom. So talk about dark. Right away, like you get this kid who needs this miracle medicine or Tommy will die. And apparently the only portion of that, the only sample of that medicine is right there in that room. The guy steals it and is like, "Ha, I'm going to use this to bring the world to its knees." It's like right away, you have imminent child death. It comes down to a foot race and a cape yank. And then at the end, I guess Tommy gets the only dose of the miracle medicine. All right. Hope nobody else catches whatever that is. So I kind of liked how, yes, we had two of them in here. We had Hostess Twinkie's ad, where a bunch of kids were going to be imminently crushed to death right at the beginning. And then another imminent child death from mysterious disease right at the beginning of this one. So there you go. I mean, pretty freaking dark for a couple of old comic book ads. And I got to mention in passing, as I always have to cheat on these, I had a couple of other ads, and I'm just going to mention them in passing. There was a house ad for Showcase number 100, which is one of the best issues DC Comics ever published. I'm sure I've mentioned it before. I won't get into it again, but always fun to see an ad for that one. And there was a full-page publishorial by Jeanette Kahn about Len Wein coming back full-time to DC. I mean, like, full page, like 3 columns of text or whatever. And again, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it did include an anecdote near the end about how Len nearly died from a staph infection that turned to blood poisoning and almost cost him his foot to boot. Had to tie it into the Superstar thing there. Couldn't resist it. So like, yeah, just a whole page on, hey, great, Len Wein's coming back to DC full time. Like, I just found that odd. Like, Len's a great guy. Wrote some amazing stuff. But a full page publishorial? Like, okay, all right. Just seemed like kind of odd. I did read the whole thing though, so there's that. All right, so a couple of nicely dark, but still awesomely fun to read ads. I mean, don't mess with the Superstar. He will neck stomp you to the curb, all right? That's all out of the way, people. That's the content of the issue in total. So now, all that's left is for us to move on to a section of the show that we like to call, got any last words?
To the Last Man had an almost insurmountable deficit just having Duranone as the artist. And a story that didn't do a thing for me, and Battleground won by default. Having original art surely helped. I'll be curious going forward where this book is going based on the editorial. Awesome ad. This one's a keeper, but barely top half of the pile. Again, having original art surely helped.
I mean, hell yeah, man. That's just having a page from this story. That's just, talk about adding a nice touch to going over this issue. So for my last words, I'll say, yeah, the tragic hamstringing by a seriously stupid script set aside, Duranona's rallying effort here still wouldn't have been quite enough to topple Battleground for the crown this time around. But man, it would have been closer than I'd have expected. Better luck next time, Leo. Maybe. That's my last words. Now we have arrived at the actual end of the show. Little section we call the Scuttlebutt, where I remind you we have an incredibly awesome Facebook page, the Weird Warriors Podcast Facebook page, as it's called, run by your buddy and mine, Mr. Rich. And go there, have an awesome time. I pump it up every time at the end of the show, but it deserves it. So just go there, interact, have a good time in between episodes, people. It's probably the best damn Facebook page for a podcast ever. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to say it is. All right? What are you going to do? So while you're there, while you're thinking about the show, while you're having an awesome time, why not go over to redbubble.com and enter, guess what, the Weird Warriors Podcast into the search there and get our amazing logo that was drawn and designed by Bill Walco of theherobusiness.com and of Archie Comics fame. Get that amazing logo sprayed across and blazoned upon any piece of merchandise you can find over there at redbubble.com. And when you get that piece of merch, take a picture of it, send it via Facebook Messenger to the Weird Warriors Podcast Facebook page, and you'll get a Sam Star. You'll get one, even though at this point I'm going to say you shouldn't. We shouldn't have any left, all right? But we do, so get cracking, okay? So, as you can tell, I'm running out of my nice juice here on the episode. So I'm going to hand the rest of the scuttlebutt over to the much more giving half of the show's hosting squad, Mr. Rich.
Reminder to vote for the fan-voted Intel Report episode. Officially, we've tightened the focus to a one-year period from WWT 50 to 62, February 2024 to 25. If the fans decide to rally their forces and an episode from outside that arc wins, fine. Your wishes shall be honored. The official eligible list, Ragman 3, Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, Where Monsters Dwell, Graveyard of Empires, Swamp Thing 82 and 83 with Rock and Enemy Ace, X-Men Magneto, Sons of Liberty, Hound, Anarchy 7, that haunted tank story that we really need to get this one approved, so Max has to read it.
It's Anarchy that I disapprove of, not the haunted tank, just to be clear.
Sledgehammer 44, Journey into Mystery, Great Zombies of History, and Project Lace. Technically, Black Max and Mouse belong in this time frame, if anyone wonders, but I don't own any of Black Max or have read it. And Mouse is so long, I feel like we simply couldn't do the classic justice. So details for each on the Intel Report album on the FB page. Vote early, vote often. So what's that?
Yeah, do that. Vote early, vote often, vote at all, okay? As I said, nice juice is running out, so guess what? That's it, folks. Or it would be if it was up to me. But it's not. Very little is up to me, in fact. In general, in life. All right. So, as it isn't up to me, Rich, again, your best buddy on this show, has even more to give you here at the end, and it's a teaser for the next episode.
Weird War Tales number 64. Girls at War. Retrofuturism. And the first confirmed comic book credit of an undeniable modern day legend in the field. I've been waiting for this one for about a year. You'll want to be here for this one.
Ooh, so let's see. The first comic book work of Rob Liefeld? Is that it?
Spoiler alert. No.
Come on. All right, so that's it, people. That's a teaser, and a heck of a teaser at that. Let's see if anyone out there knows who Rich is talking about as far as this mystery creator.
No cheating.
No cheating.
Look it up.
Oh, some of you people out there seem to know this series better than either of us. Like, you guys remember things about this series, so yeah, it's probably a weak bet. But I'm sticking to it because I didn't say you'd win anything. Okay, that's it. That's the end of the show. You're not going to hear any more out of us. And who are we? Why? We're the Weird Warriors. We're the Battling Bros.
We're the swine farts.
We're the swine farts. I wasn't going to do it anymore. But hey, thanks for doing it anyway. I'm Max. He's Rich. We host this show. What show is this? It's the Weird Warriors podcast. And that's a podcast where Rich and I promise to make war
No more.